Hi, in this video I wanted to quickly show you how to call the Azure Management API from ScriptCS. And in order to demonstrate this, I created a quick solution on GitHub in my Geuer account called ScriptCS Azure Extensions. In order to get this thing going, the first thing I need is actually ScriptCS itself. Script C# is the system used to run C# scripts, so to say, on Azure, on Windows or on Linux. And ScriptCS can be installed with Chocolatey. So Chocolatey, as it's called, Chocolatey, you can get Chocolatey from chocolatey.org. I already installed chocolatey.org, Chocolatey on my machine. And when I go here, I call the cinst ScriptCS from an administrative command prompt, and this now runs and installs ScriptCS on my local machine. While this is happening in the background, the next thing I do is I also clone that particular Git repository. So I go to my desktop and I git clone this baby here. So I have it. Let's see what my ScriptCS extension has done. No errors have been shown. So when I run a new command prompt, I should be able to run ScriptCS and have a prompt. That's awesome. Okay, so let's go to the desktop. Let's go to my ScriptCS Azure extension folder. So one thing to know is, in order to talk to my Azure subscription, what I need is I need a publish settings file. So basically, once you're signed in to your Azure account, you can use this link here, paste it in here, and download a so-called publish settings file. I already did that, and my publish settings file is down here on my desktop. So when you look into this file in some text editor, you basically see that it contains the X509 certificate with a private key, as well as a subscription ID. And instead of installing this file to some particular location or so, I just dumped it on my desktop. And when I look here, there is one thing which I need to do. I need to set a couple of environment variables. So I use this set environment variables, copy this over to chris.cmd and edit this chris.cmd, and I copy the path of my Azure settings file into this one here. So basically I'm saying there are two things actually. This it's totally safe. Yeah, can be a global variable, doesn't really matter. I'm the only guy on my machine. So I'm basically doing two things. I'm saying you can find my Azure publish settings file in this location, and I want you to use the the subscription with the index 0. In this file there is only one, but I basically need to tell it which subscription to use. I save this chris.cmd, and when I run this, I'm basically setting the local machine's environment variable. And when I now go to this folder, there is one command called build. So now I'm going to run the build command, and this is basically pulling a whole bunch of NuGet packages into my ScriptCS package, into the ScriptCS packages folder. And it's also compiling a small Visual Studio solution inside this thing here, which I created for some sort of Fluent API. So here I have a bunch of extension methods, which I'm, for example, using to add Windows provisioning configurations to the system, and so on and so on. Right, where's my command prompt where all the magic happens? Okay. So actually the compilation and everything already worked, and down here I already called ScriptCS.exe with one of my scripts called list cloud services. You can see it's using my publish settings from, oh, wrong path. Apparently I didn't restart this command prompt. So let me just close all command prompts, start a new one, go to my desktop to the ScriptCS thing, and run ScriptCS.exe against this list cloud services. And let's see whether it uses now the right publish settings file, the one which we configured a second ago. Apparently I messed up my configuration. Anyway, despite the fact that I'm too stupid to set an environment variable the right way, what you can see here is it lists 3 cloud services: Apache Kafka, Quasar, and ScriptCS. And when I go to the Azure Management Portal, these are exactly the services which I have in here. So it actually made a call against the subscription. Let's have a quick glance around what this thing is doing. So when I take this list cloud services, it's basically doing 3 things. It's including another script which is called Azure Credentials CSX. It's creating a compute management client, and it's retrieving a list of the hosted services and then simply spitting out the service's name. So apparently the interesting thing here is in this Azure Credentials script. And when I open this one, what you can see is it retrieves the path of this to my publish settings file and this index about which subscription I want to use. And down here it is setting a credentials variable by saying get certificate cloud credentials from a publish settings file. This is a utility function from myself, which is calling into one of my extensions down in here to do the grunt work of cracking all the XML and stuff. And so after the creds variable contains my publish settings credential, my cloud credential, you can see it's being used here in line number 3. To look into a demo which is a little bit more elaborate, let's look into how do I create a Windows VM. So this is a little script which uses a compute management client and the storage management client to create a Windows Server instance in Western Europe. And I want to put it into some script, Geuer-123 cloud service. I also have in order to avoid that my admin credentials and so on, which I want to use, go into version control, I have them in an environment variable in my Azure VM admin password. And this script now uses this Windows Server 2012 March 25 15 name to resolve the label of the image. It goes into the storage account, into the cloud, to retrieve one of the storage accounts in the appropriate data center where I want to deploy. In my case, this is Western Europe. It then goes and says if the current cloud service does not yet exist in my list of existing cloud services, attempt to create it. And now I'm using my Fluent API. So this Fluent API is simply speaking in this ScriptCS Azure extensions which I supplied with the project. So what's going on now is I'm creating a plain vanilla role variable where I supply stuff like what is the operating system disk. You see some disk label and disk media link creation functions. These are supplied in my util image names. So when I open this util image names, where is it? Util image names. This is basically just some string manipulation where I use a storage account and I want to have clean and neat looking names for the OS disks and the data disks and so on. So this is basically just creating a couple of clean and neat looking strings. So I'm saying, hey, create a new role. This is the operating system disk which I want to have for it. Please add some Windows provisioning config. Use my, admin username and my admin password. Add some data disk to this role. So I want to have a 100 gigabyte data disk attached to it. Put the RDP endpoint to actually the default endpoint, and also do something. I want to run a PowerShell script when the machine launches. So this script here, so everything in this literal string, like it gets some parameter of a directory and then creates this directory and also creates some other directory. And I want to supply this argument to this script. So what this extension function add custom script extension PowerShell does is it uploads this script to my storage account, to the storage account in the same data center, into the ScriptCS container name under a file name which is script cloud service name VM name.powershell. Uploads these contents over there and then make sure it gets called on the virtual machine. So after line 91, the role variable contains my complete description, and the last thing I need to do is to kick off the compute management client to run, deploy this whole thing. So when we want to do this, let me just pull off this phone, ScriptCS, create Windows VM. Poof. This is now going off. It's actually compiling the whole ScriptCS stuff in the back. So right now I'm not caching my compiled bits. It's saying, oh, I actually apparently had one line where I spit out all the forgot this. So over here I also wrote all the labels. Forget this one. Then it told me like what storage account it uses. So it uses chgeuer.we for Western Europe. And it creates a chgeuer win. Why it's called win5? Because I didn't save the whole file. So the previous name was apparently chgeuer win5. Yeah, right. I didn't save before I kicked off the script. Anyway, so it now created this hosted service. So when we head over to the management portal, we can see there is some busy stuff happening. Yeah, and that's all. Actually, so when you wait and you RDP into this box, don't forget to, put your password, the admin password, which you want to have on that VM, into some environment variable. You can then log in and you should expect to see a folder called c:\hello from custom script extension and a c:\tester on the OS disk of the virtual machine. Thanks, that's it. Have fun. Bye bye.